Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to be back. I want to thank Stan and Ken for taking the show, and Bill and the Mayor Greg. Really good shows they put on. I really appreciate them covering the show while we were out. I've got some great video and stories to tell you coming up soon. But today we have some special guests. So let's get started with our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and 7 and 7. The Apalachicola Bluntstown is at a 3.5 and staying pretty steady. The Choctaw at Caryville is at a 2.4. It's gone up since I've been out. A 2.4, and it's rising up with all the rain we've had. We've got this cold front coming through. We've got rain today, Halloween tonight. My favorite joke with my students and walk in my door. It's not Halloween yet, take off your mask. So you always use that joke, and then tomorrow say, well, Halloween's over, take off your mask. I use that joke every year I taught school, and they still fell for it. River readings were brought to us by Mountain Dew. Take it outside with Mountain Dew. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Long. Good strong tide today. We're looking at a low this morning at 9:42 and a high at 11:23 tonight. A good strong 1.8 foot range right there. Winds west-southwest at 15. High today 82 and low 43. The water temperature 76.5. That's the lowest it's been all year since the springtime. All right, take a break. We'll come back with our special guest. Welcome back, and look who we have this morning. Y'all recognize a familiar face with Officer Travis Bachelor that brought a buddy of ours on. It's been on the show a long time ago. Welcome back, Arlo Kane.
Thank you.
Man, we're glad to have you. It's been a while since you've
been 7 or 8 years, yeah.
We figured that out.
Yeah.
And Travis, we got so much to talk about. We've even brought in reinforcements for Arlo.
We had to.
So I'm just going to hush up, and I'm going to let you start talking.
Well, we just we wanted to bring Arlo here because, like I did last time on the show, Coach and I, we talked about the new deer harvest reporting system, and Arlo here knows a lot more about it than I do, and we just wanted to go over some of the stuff in detail for the public to try to get as much outreach education as we can, because this has already started here as we bow season kicked off last weekend, and we just want to make sure we go over this stuff. There's a lot of stuff online that you can click on and read about, but by us going over here, hopefully it'll help some of the hunters out there, so it's an easier process when you log and report your deer.
And Arlo, before we get started, I know a lot of people know you, all the hunters don't know you. His field of expertise, and he's an expert in the field. Tell the folks briefly your background and what you do with FWC.
So I'm a private lands biologist with FWC. I work with private landowners, helping them manage their habitat, managing for wildlife. Basically, any technical advice people need, that's what I do.
Been doing it a while.
Been doing it about 31 years.
31 years. So he knows a little bit about this stuff.
Just a little bit.
He makes a living doing it, and a lot of people. He's helped so many people. So, okay.
Yep, absolutely, and does a great job at that. And so I guess we'll just kind of jump right into it. We'll kind of give an overview of what you need to do when you harvest a deer in the state of Florida. So I'll let Arlo take it over, and then we've got a couple different options, which we talked about, which would be the app and then the paper log, if you want to talk about the app a little bit.
Yeah, so we have an app. It's a two-part system. This was developed by the same people that developed Georgia's and other states. But ours is a two-part system, and that's confused a lot of people. You have to download a program called Survey 123 to start with. I always equate it's like loading Windows on a computer. You're not going to be able to write a document by loading Windows. You got to load Microsoft Office. Same type thing. You're loading ArcView, Survey 123, then you have to load the deer app. So there's a two-part system. And use our website on your phone, and there's a link to the app there. You click on that and it'll load it on your phone. It is tricky. Every once in a while it fails, so you got to make sure you have a good connection when you do this. There's several places you can find that link on the website, and it will work. You may have to go to a couple of them to make it work. I've had trouble once in a while. But it is a two-part system, and that's been the most confusing things for people. You have to load both programs to get this deer harvest app.
Exactly. That's good info. So load both of those, and then another thing that Arlo and I were talking about that has recently been added, just another option to try to make sure we try to make this as user-friendly as possible, and we'll get Jeff to put this on the bottom of the screen, but you can also now, another option is you can go online to the website, and it's basically under deer hunting and the harvest report, and you can also report it online, okay, so from a laptop or whatever, or even if you went online through your smartphone. The app's going to be your first go-to. This is another option, and it has the same info as the app, so your harvest info, your deer info, your name, customer ID number, and that's another way to do it. So those are the two electronic ways that you can log and report, and then it's breaking that down just a little more. So the log part is, you want to do that, so you shoot a deer, you want to log it before you move the animal. Correct?
Right.
Okay, and then the second part of that is the reporting part, which will be more information. When you do that, then you'll get your confirmation
number. Yeah. So if you use the online reporting, or you call it in, you're going to have the paper log if you use either of those methods. If you use the app, then it's all in one. The app will automatically date and time stamp your report, and it will send it up as soon as you get a signal. You hit submit, and it records all that information for you. Otherwise, you're going to have the paper if you do it online or you do it by phone.
Awesome. Yep. Good to know. And we actually have this. I think we showed it last time, but this is the other option, which would be the paper, log. And this is what it looks like here. And you can get these online. I know for myself, we got pretty good service up at our place, but I'm going to have this in the truck just in case. Yeah. And if you use this method, the stuff on here, it's got harvest date, number of antler points, county or WMA. And then you'll have a tag number if you're under the Antlers Deer Program, and then there's a spot for a confirmation number once you call in. So if you harvest a deer and you want to use the paper system, or let's say you don't have cell service, then you take this log, you fill out the information, and then you have 24 hours to call the hotline.
Right.
We'll put the hotline up too, and that's I believe the hotline's what, 8 to 8. Eastern?
8 to 8 Eastern time, 7 to 7 Central. So you got to remember that there is a time limit there of when they're available. Those operators are working statewide, so you may get a busy signal. You may get all operators are busy. You're going to have to keep trying. So don't wait till the last minute to call it in.
Exactly, and I had a lot of other people ask, hey, what if I kill one late in the afternoon? We don't recover it till late. We're tracking the deer. The phones are down. Well, that's why they put 24 hours in to where you can call the next day and report it, as long as you've already filled out your log before you move the animal. So anyways, pretty good stuff, and I know we got to come up to a break. So
okay, let's go ahead and jump on this break now. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Don't forget, this weekend, the Elizabeth Bottorff Redfish Tournament will be headquarters there in Sunjammers. Register tomorrow afternoon at Sunjammer from 3 to 6, and weigh-in goes to 3 o'clock Saturday. And I'll be there to weigh in, and we'll interrupt the Florida-Georgia game just to film some of that weigh-in. Now, here are Arlo Kane and Travis Basford, and we still have a lot more information, so let's start rolling. So, why are we doing this? People say, why are we doing this?
Why are we
people
doing
ask
this?
me,
Yeah.
so tell them.
So this was something that's been around for a long time. We've talked about it for probably the last 10 years, about a tag and report system. And it's something that the public has requested. We have stakeholders that we interview all the time. Between staff and stakeholders, this has been something that's come up over and over again. And so this is going to give us a little bit better data on exactly the number of deer harvested, what deer are being harvested, when they're being harvested. So we get a little bit more information. We're still going to collect information from our mail-out surveys and call surveys and all that, but this is going to give us a lot more detail. It's going to help spread the harvest out a little better. That's one of the reasons for the 5 deer limit, is to spread the harvest out so that more people have an opportunity, and to be a little more selective as well.
Very good. Most other states have been doing it for a while.
We're the last southeastern state to have a tag and report system.
No kidding.
Yeah,
wow.
We're the last.
Okay.
So. One of the things we did want to mention too is that when you take your deer to a processor, you're going to have to call that in and report it and get a confirmation number before you drop it off. That's another reason why you want to make that call as early as you can. So if you're late getting back from the field, you may have to hold on to that deer until the next morning if you haven't been able to call in. So that's something you need to know. The processors and taxidermists both are going to need that confirmation number before you drop that animal off.
See, that's something I just learned. I didn't know that. That's good.
That's great information,
Yes.
and all the more reason if you can, and we understand that's why that we have these different methods, but if you have that app and trying to make it as user-friendly as we can, but if you have the app, boom, it's all done right there. You can go ahead and take your deer in. Whereas if you're doing the paper log, the phones are only open, 7 Central to 7 Central, so you're kind of limited there. Another important thing that I'll let Arlo talk about is we just had an executive order, something about, well, I'll let him talk about CWD a little bit.
Chronic wasting disease. So we have had a ban on importation of live deer into the state for a number of years now because of chronic wasting disease. We've also not allowed you to bring meat in that had bones in it, any carcasses from states that were CWD positive. That is now changing as of Saturday, and we are not allowing boned carcasses with bones in them to come in from any state, regardless of whether it's CWD or not. The exception is going to be Alabama and Georgia. We know a lot of people hunt in Alabama and Georgia. And to bring a carcass in from Alabama and Georgia, one that you've shot but you haven't processed, you're going to need a carcass importation permit from us. It's a one-time deal each season. You go on to our deer part of the web page. You'll find a Permit Me link. That Permit Me is where you go and you issue a permit. It's good for the entire season. You don't have to do it every time you bring a deer in. But if you're going to bring a carcass in from Georgia or Alabama, you need that permit, that carcass transport permit. Those are disease-free states. Chronic wasting disease is a fatal disease of deer. It's a brain disorder, and it kills them 100%. Yeah. And so the closest we now have is Mississippi has got it. So that's a 2-hour drive from Florida. So it's close. And so we don't want it to get here because it's devastating to deer populations.
Okay, as a biologist, you've seen the results of all this.
It's it's a neurological thing. It gets into the brain. It's similar to Alzheimer's, but it causes the deer to wander in circles. They drool. They get tremors. They're pretty bad shape. They're emaciated, and then they eventually die. Yeah. So we're doing active and passive surveillance all across the state. I think so far since 2012, we've collected over 12,000 carcasses and deer heads. We collect deer heads every year. We've collected over 12,000. We haven't found it yet. We're hoping we don't, but it's moved into the southeast now a little bit, so we're concerned.
Okay. We need our share of that. Make sure we stay on top of that.
It's very serious stuff, and like Arlo said, we don't want it here in Florida. So if you do see a deer and they have some of those signs, symptoms of it, we're going to put the number up for the hotline. Please call it immediately. So we can go take care of that deer, get it tested, and make sure that stuff didn't spread. And some of the stuff, like he talked about, that's a big game changer. If you hunt the Midwest or any other state, I guess, besides Alabama and Georgia,
exactly.
What you can and can't bring back. And we were talking about that. So the boned out meat, you can't just quarter your deer up at camp and bring it back. I've got friends that hunt, Kentucky, Illinois, and places like that you can't do that stuff anymore unless you've got all the bone out. And then it specifically mentions finished taxidermy. So if you kill a deer, unless you really know what you're doing, getting all that hide and stuff off.
Skull cap's cleaned out, everything.
The safest thing.
No tissue.
Right,
basically.
No soft tissue. So the safest thing to me is to have that deer mounted up there, so you don't have to worry about it. Right. Can you do it and bring it back? Yeah, but unless you really know what you're doing on that. So that's a big thing. Another thing we want to talk about is, and I touched on it last time because I've had a lot of questions in the field on this, is make sure, even if you're exempt from a hunting license, a deer permit, an archery permit, whatever it is, if you're under 16, over 65, if you have some of the other exemptions like you're a military personnel, you're on home for leave, and there's a few more, you still need to get that customer ID number. Right. And that's really important. You can go to Go Outdoors Florida and then create a new account and just get that customer ID number, because when you log and report your deer, you're going to need that, period. It is not a license number. It's going to go off that customer ID number.
That customer ID number is on your hunting license. It's yours for life. First time you ever got a hunting license, you got that number, and that's your number for life, so it never changes.
All right, so all you retired people now who think you don't have to do anything, you do have to do something, including me. We got to get that number, so we got to make sure we do that.
Absolutely. And another detail that we wanted to go over, we've been getting a lot of questions on, is the antlerless deer permits. If you've got a doe tag, we're going to talk about briefly, we have our bag limit, which we've went over, 5, which no more than 2 antlerless. But talk a little bit about that, Arlo, if you can, on how that applies.
That's been one of the most confusing parts for people. So if you're in the antlerless deer program, you get tags, you have over 640 acres, and you're getting antlerless deer tags. You now have to tag every antlerless deer you shoot on that property has to be tagged. So for instance, if you get 10 antlerless tags, you can only take 10 antlerless deer off that property. It doesn't count towards your bag limit, the 2 antlerless deer that you can take on your bag limit. They don't count towards that, but you can't fill those 2 on that property. You have to go somewhere else to shoot your 2 for your bag limit. So if that property gets tagged, you have to tag every deer regardless of season. Archery season, doe days, general gun, doesn't matter. You have to tag an antlerless deer with an antlerless deer tag if you get them. So it's going to limit the number of antlerless deer you can take on those properties.
I see. Okay.
So that is a big change. Before you could take deer during archery season and then use your tags at other times. Now you have to use a tag regardless of when you take that antlerless deer. So, but it doesn't count towards your 2 doe bag limit.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's good to know. Like I said before, you could take them during archery or on your doe days, and you didn't want to use your tags, but now you need to do it. And another question too. So, like he said, you take them on your property that you have doe tags on or antlerless deer tags. That doesn't count toward your 5. You can go to a wildlife management area or somewhere else of another private property. It's not part of an antlerless deer program, and then you still starting with your fresh 5 bag limit for the season.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, that's really good information. We're going to take a final break, come back, we got some more information. We're going to do a case of the month, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's look at our fishing game time today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers. They're looking at 3:22 this morning, 5:22, and afternoon at 3:50 to 5:50, right before you go trick-or-treating. So I'm going to put up a picture while I'm pulling it up. You got some more information, so go ahead.
Plenty. Go ahead, Arlo.
So one of the things that we really wanted to emphasize is the app. If you can do it, the app is the best way to go. Here's some of the information you're going to need when you report a deer. Your name, date of birth, customer ID number, date of harvest, time of harvest, whether it's public or private lands, the county, the deer management unit, the wildlife management area if you were on a WMA, method of take, antlered or antlerless, the number of antlered points, female or male, and then the 6-digit tag number if you had an antlerless deer tag. That's a lot of information.
Ooh, I'm telling you.
That's in the app. That's going to lead you all through that. You don't have to remember any of that.
Good.
The paper log doesn't have all of that written on it. So, the app is going to lead you through all that information. They're going to ask you on the phone call. So that's really the way to go if you can do it.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay, real quick picture here. I want you to tell us about this picture, Travis. It's a Madeline Coatney.
Yes, sir.
And that's a big fish right there, buddy.
That's a nice catfish.
Tell us about it.
So that is the granddaughter of my neighbors. That's Levi and Cindy Phillips. And right down the road, I know we shared pictures of Bella on here. They always let Bella come down there and catch some nice brim on their dock. Just a really great couple, great family, and they just wanted to brag on her catching that nice catfish there off their dock.
All right, Levi, good job there. Good job. All right. So what else we got?
Well, we've got, I guess we'll mention briefly, it kind of got overshadowed by the deer stuff, which is hot and heavy right now, but we had from what I've heard, a very successful fall snapper season. Had an invite to go, wasn't able to go, but a lot of people catching nice snapper out there. So we had the weekends in October, 3 weekends in October, and then we've got one more weekend coming up, which will be that first weekend in November, the 2nd and 3rd, where you can go out and legally harvest red snapper. And like we were talking before the show, a lot of people doing this fall run, they've been catching nice mahi out there mixed in.
Yes, I have.
And I've been seeing some really good mahi close in. I mean, 25, 30 plus inchers. Been seeing a lot of good catches, so that's good. And then we also have if you want to talk about a case of the month.
Let's do the case of the month. Got a couple minutes because this is a good one, so just jump on this.
All right, so I've got a couple I want to share. Really, a lot of good cases made that I just couldn't couldn't write them all down, but it's been a while back. We're kind of getting back into the beginning of when dove season opened up, first phase. And our inland crews up in Holmes and Jackson, I want to recognize some officers up there, did a really good job, made some good cases on baited dove fields. So I'd like to recognize, Lieutenant Walsingham, Officers Hampton Yates, Michael Homan, and Travis Parrish up in Holmes County. Around that opening weekend, they got some guys hunting a baited dove field, baited heavily with bird seed, and they end up getting 9 citations for taking migratory birds over bait, and then also 2 for over the bag limit.
Okay.
So they shot too many and were hunting over bait. And then in Jackson County, I want to recognize Officer Hank Forehand, Dusty Humphrey, and Travis Scott and Keith Baber did a really good job up there. They got another 5 guys hunting on a baited dove field. And Officer Hank Forehand actually did really good, had another case where some guys tried to hide their harvested doves, and ended up having them in a bucket separate. It was over 30 birds one guy had. And
wait a minute, he had a 5-gallon bucket at 30-something doves?
Yeah,
okay,
over 30.
All right.
Yeah, and you can only have 15, so he's over. And then further inspection revealed they actually had 30-something more there in the bushes, so it was only 2 or 3 guys. So they were way over the bag limit, and really good case by Officer Forehand. So all those guys did a great job up there. That's a very exciting case to make. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of walking and waiting and patience, and those guys did a great job up there during dove season.
That's what, hide them in a bucket, then hide them in the bushes. That's something now.
Yep,
You gotta get more creative than hide them in the bushes, folks. And overall, the dove season started out pretty good. You heard some good.
It was good, yeah, and there were plenty of people that had good legal hunts, and they did good. So heard some really good shoots that happened. So
we appreciate all this information. Arlo, thank you so much for all that good information, and we're gonna have to get you back on here pretty soon and talk about some more stuff like that.
Sure.
That's really good. So thank you, and Travis, as always, we appreciate you coming on and sharing it. If they have any questions, they got numbers and all on the screen for them to call.
Yes, sir. We'll get the number for the regional office, and please call. And then online, there's so much good resources online. We're gonna put that that link on there.
All right, thank y'all folks for watching our show. We appreciate the viewership. Do something good today for your fellow man, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.